Hello and welcome to another developer update. I'm Stress from the VRChat team, here to talk about something we've kept close to our chest for a long time, the creator economy.
Uh-oh. Let's talk about it. Hey there, y'all. It's Nuoance, and I've been looking forward to this announcement for a while. Many VRChat creators have had this topic as a debate throughout the year because there is a lot that goes into it, and today it is my turn to give my 2 cents on it. Firstly, let's do the usual disclaimers that this is always my opinion and concerns, which means that this may not resonate with you or even in general populace. So just because there's something that I like or dislike, it doesn't make it good or a bad idea to everyone. I'd also like to say that I've only looked at the developer video as well as some other little things here and there I picked up, so maybe the stuff that I missed or maybe I just ignored because of the lack of source. VRChat, since I've started the game, has always had an issue with a rumor getting a little out of hand and people taking it as a fact, so I'm trying to limit that here. First, let's go over the basics. What do we know about the creator economy? Well, it's been clearly stated that there will be more than one way to support someone since different communities have different needs, as well as adding the avatar creator community is currently on hold due to unnamed specifications that we can all assume. Some of the current ones that we know about, though, are VRChat groups having the ability to host private events with their supporters, as well as special roles or gain a special access due to their tier. Currently, they're hosting a small beta that is just a handful of creators in the private server to make sure there are no issues with the feature before it comes out. I mean, honestly, I would rather they take their time with this one because, as they said, a single glitch could cause someone to lose real hard-earned money. The beta is only for the US at the moment, though, but there will be international support for the future. And that's kind of all we know right now, narrowed to the simplest form. You can of course check out the original video or the document on VRChat's channel, but now is time for the real conversation. The actual effects of this update. I've always been on the fence about a creator economy because on the one hand there are some real masterpieces of the game that deserve to be able to live, but on the other there are some real scumbags who will use the feature to scam and take advantage of the system and players. And I don't think my hesitancy with this very serious update is unfounded. The VRChat, I love you to death. You've got a ton of great content to enjoy, some amazing people, but also some real big jerks who are disconnected with reality. They're so disconnected that they can convince themselves that ripping somebody's avatar is perfectly fine. I was gonna save this for later in the video, but I am convinced the reason the avatar creation is going to be a more sensitive subject is because of the rampant ripping problem within the game. I'm sure it's less now because of EAC, but it is still a thing that happens. People are more aware to not wear their more expensive looks in spaces they don't know everyone, and there are loopholes and avatar breaks abundant that teach users how to protect themselves and their avatars from ripping, but also how to rip said avatars. VRChat needs to deal with this issue directly, which is something I think they don't really know how to handle as of right now. A reminder that I don't allow the names of any ripper spots on my videos, so please use discretion when mentioning them. There are spaces that are abundant with stolen avatars and cold-hearted people who see no problem laughing at the distress of others who put soul into their work. Because they don't have the skill sets to make something, they choose to take something from someone else. I've seen people steal avatars specifically out of spite, and then taunt the original users. It is a constant reminder that there are some pretty nasty people in a game that prey off harming others, and because of the fallout would probably be pretty messy, VRChat doesn't know how to handle it elegantly. This game isn't a necessity for most regular players, but for some, their entire income is based off of what they make here. You don't need that fancy avatar, you want it. But the creator may need to be able to pay for their bills, so you purchasing it could help them keep afloat. It's how the economy works. I know quite a few stories of people who were creators and gave up strictly because their stuff kept being stolen and ripped, and that talent is what we've lost out on because of the lack of moderation on this particular issue. But it's not an easy thing to monitor either. Unless you pull out pay stubs for every single thing you buy, you're not going to be able to prove that the model is yours or not. And these concerns would make some creators hesitate in posting their work for the public to have access to. Unless it was done like Booth, where most creators upload a jacked up version of their model with a sample written all over it or a giant logo on the top, bottom, or sides. This is the main feature I'm curious to see develop, since I know it's going to come with some heavy pushback or lack of interest. I know personally, because most of my models are planned to be sold to have public versions, I'm not too concerned, but it does make me think. When someone buys a model from Booth or Gumroad or PayHip, they may just upload it as is, but pretty often, people will want to edit it somehow to best fit their style. Color changes, accessory add-ons or removals, little upgrades that can be made to fit your look better. Take my She's original, for example. One of my giveaway winners took the package and made it purple to fit their style. If we buy everything within VRChat, do we get access to that avatar or only to wear it? Customization is one of the biggest perks of the game, but if you have to implement the ability to heavily customize the avatar itself every time through VRChat, is it going to be worth it? And if it does become a download option, where are we getting the model? Will there be an upload package within VRChat's site that you'll have to have bought? Can you try on the avatar first before purchasing? These are all pretty standard questions that I'm sure they're still working on. And that makes me wonder if we'll finally get World and Avatar reviews. I get the concern too many people would review bomb positively or negatively because, it's VRChat, but this game is all about the players, and the players themselves should be able to have a voice on different content. Like, if a world is labeled Black Cat, but it's some meanie flashbang, it'd be nice to be able to check the reviews and get that warning. Or if it's something great, your friends could leave a positive review and you could see it. When buying an avatar, my priority is wanting to see how the avatar feels and move on me, or if there's any real issues with it. I don't want to accidentally end up spending money on something that maybe was a broken mess that just looked nice, frozen in place, or perhaps has hidden offensive content on it. But let's ask the real question now. Not safe for work. We all know it's a thing within the game, but it's under the rules of reported and we'll deal with it. Not all avatars are not safe for work, however there are many that are made with not safe for work qualities. Would these just continue to be only available through external sites? And if so, if you joined the creator program through VRChat and uploaded the safe versions, could you be potentially banned for having the not safe for work ones available somewhere else? VRChat is quickly moving through the reality that they have to make their choice on what to do with adult content, either fully shoot it down or find a safer way to implement it. Because with these monetization options, we know that it is going to be used in fully wholesome ways. Which, segues to the next question, if everyone's automatically accepted to get money, or if we have to do like some kind of weird sign-up situation. This is kind of something I'm on the fence about, I don't know which will be the best option, so maybe a mix would be ideal. Tipping creators for the work, like dancers, role players, comedy, would be a pain to have to get access for, if only because how do you prove that? You gotta give Pill and Tupper the good old tell me about the rabbits bit, and if they laugh you get in. But on the other hand, just letting anyone who uploads a world can add some serious paywalling. But I'm under the belief though that those who take too much in terms of requiring pay to play will end up just not really getting anyone part of the community. I remember the first time this idea came up, and so many people mentioned their first order of business would be arcades and casinos. Woo, gambling! And that's a real concern, because that will not do well in international laws. But on the other side of that, we bring not safe for work again. Rakshas's worlds, for example, are appropriate, but they're drinking based and state very clearly to be 18 or older to enter, meaning if you're under the legal drinking age, you shouldn't be hanging out in there. However, if you end up in there, you're not going to get exposed to unsafe content unless it's by other players, since Patreon's TOS clearly states you must be 18 or older to gain or create memberships. If by being able to freely purchase content within the game and minors having access to buy said content, is that causing a problem? This is more of an issue if anyone will have the ability to buy anything or if an age lock will be considered. Could a minor end up building content within the game and start making bank on the side because of this feature? I want to mention that there are possibilities that could happen outside of VRChat still, Patreon and Discord server boosting being the two most popular methods, but in general most spaces that deal with handing off money requires the user to be over 18, which means there will be a need for, some kind of verification I'd assume in the future. Many games require an adult to be present when purchasing some kind of skin. And yeah, while I know that there are those who lack the guardianship to pay attention what the little ones are buying, I'm curious to see what VRChat will do on this particular concern. It makes me wonder though about what VRChat is going to get out of this. Is this a system that's going to be similar to Twitch subs where a cut of your tips go to them? I'd assume so, but the real test is seeing if it'd be fair with said cut. At the end of the day, if people feel like they'd make more money just sending it through Patreon, they're not gonna bother with the system. If it costs $10 to get into a VIP section through Patreon, but VRChat takes 20% of the subs versus Patreon's usually 5 to 12%, creators might find less worth in the effort due to the cut they may take. And if these creators decide to offset the difference by making it more expensive, people are gonna rather head over to the cheaper option to save money on themselves or decide to just cut out the unnecessary expense, once again making the creator lose money. And what if on the off chance they decide to just cut Patreon altogether? They make it against the TOS. This has not happened, but let's talk theoretically. Let's say they aren't making enough money off of the thing, so they decide to stop Patreon, make it a bannable offense, so everyone has to cut their Patreons out. What if a good chunk of people were more comfortable with using Patreon than using VRChat system, no matter how the money gets uploaded? We're going to talk about that later. Now, the creators are actively actually losing more money in the long run than what they were before. It also makes me wonder if the new system will be like multiplayer games with currency being available to buy in packages, and the more money you spend, the better deal you get, or if instead it'll go the direction that you pay right there and then what you want to, and the creator in question gets it through their PayPal or whatever it chooses. And now we can bring up the question of where the money is coming from. Is it credit or debit? PayPal? Steam or Oculus Store? Where are we putting our valuable information that could very well put us on a scamming range? Currently, I'm guessing it'll be just like VRChat Plus, and you'll be using the appropriate store page, which I feel like is the safest bet. Does that mean that you would be able to use Steam gift cards, though? Different type of purchases have been said to give you different perks, such as the difference between tipping a creator, paying for access to certain areas in the map, or even using group extensive parties. And I'd assume these accesses would come in monthly benefits instead of like a one-time purchase, but there is a complexity that does come with this, as many places have different tiers. Let's say you pay to gain access to, we'll go with Rakshaw's drinking night. Could she set it up that instead of her usual $10 membership, you could gain access to only drinking night for, let's say, $4? Or will it only be available to all users at the $10 price point? Furthermore, since many users who have Patreon have different perks, can all these overlap with little trouble? Could the creator give a note if someone's about to buy the $4 package and state that if they plan to join Rakshaw's Other Worlds, it'd be cheaper to buy the $10 with all benefits instead of one? Could the worlds that let you pay to have their poster mounted on their world do it automatically, or would it still need to be manually done? If manually, could the file be sent to Rakshaw, or is it vetted through a security to confirm if it's safe or not? And if it's automatic, would the world owner be punished if someone uploaded something that was offensive, or would those posters also be checked? What about Discord? Because most people connect their Discord to their Patreon, so it's easier for world builders to know who got the perk automatically. Will refunding be a hard thing to do? Is there a space on the website that would keep an accurate track of your funding? And what about the darn taxes? This is where the pros and cons come into the system that won't be really well opinioned until the actual system arrives. There are some great things that could come from this, one of those being how easy it'll be for world creators to finally give perks without spending most of their free time updating their worlds or answering questions about the perks. Unlike other games, much of the content with VRChat is done by different people who don't live and breathe VRChat, and they just like to make stuff for it. Jar herself has stated through her Patreon that they update the world pretty much every day to every other day, and going through 1,400 people that probably fluctuate often would get super time consuming, I'd assume. Rakshaw updates every Sunday, but has started also doing Friday updates due to, well, people usually want their perks on the weekend. I decided to ask Rakshaw, the very hyper-talented creator who work hard and spend their time building for VRChat, what her average day looks like regarding their Patreon perks. Rakshaw had a lot to say, which you can read here, right there. But the long and short was that while it was easier to update now because VRChat has made the system more streamlined, removing Patreon users was still all manual and requires her to go through and peck them out. On top of that, there is a ton of her free time that ends up with people messaging her about when they'll get their perks, some being downright aggressive because they paid 20 minutes prior and still haven't had access. Rack herself has also mentioned many times through her Patreon, Discord, even an auto response, that her worlds update every Sunday and occasionally on Fridays, and she still gets people who manage to just struggle, like I'm struggling right now, to read the damn things and just ask her directly. When asked, Rack believed that the new system will be a positive change, but only if done correctly and after building trust within the community. She states that pay to win, while being a real concern and issue, has already been a threat and won't make really that much of a change since creators have been VIPing their content for years now. So yeah, it could be super inconvenient to have another spot to buy things and monthly subscriptions, but it will heavily cut time for the creators, which means they can focus on building more things for you to enjoy. Yeah, there may be a few people who try to pay to win, but I bet it'll end up with either private instances without payers, or people who just want to pay won't play, and that'll kind of sort itself out to an extent. It'll be frustrating at first, but there are plenty of other spaces to enjoy without having to stick around because of a paywall. Connected to that is the single tip options. If people start to see an actual cash flow for their performances, that'll help take off the edge of feeling financial burdens, even if it's just enough to order some Mickey D's. They'll be able to continue their content and maybe even have more energy to do what they love. Plus, for larger communities that maybe don't get paid in cash but do get perks in other ways, this will help them also stick around if people are giving them the attention they want. Though, I just thought about this now, what if somebody is uncomfortable or unable to be able to accept money? Is this going to be something you can opt in and out of? I'd hope so, and I'd assume so. I'm very curious. And what about people who have multiple accounts? Creators who have private accounts who just want to kind of vibe. What if somebody gives them money? Will they see who they gave money? Really, I only have a few more odds and ends to add here that I can't really fit anywhere else. Like the concerns of the beta not maybe having people who know how to break things apart. The situation with EAC and seeing the fallout of other people smarter than me mentioning the handful of better and safer options makes me a tiny bit concerned that there may not be someone on the team who really understands how to take advantage of the system and find ways to avoid the glitches. White hackers are what those are usually called, and they have a very important place within anything being done online. I'm glad they're taking their time with this, and I assume that they've been working on it since the initial announcement, but my hesitance is still hard to control. The fact that they believe this will be ready by the end of this year makes me hope that these bi-weekly updates will be plentiful with information that matters to us and not just like, hey yeah, we're still working on it. Look at this picture of a cat. And finally, I wonder what will happen to worlds that try to have an economy added when they just do game rips. Someone is recreating Breath of the Wild in VR and it's really well done, but at the end of the day, most if not all of the assets belong to Nintendo. I'm unsure if they have a Patreon for support in that world, but let's just say someone starts paying money or having exclusive access to perks with VIP, and now we are getting into really messy territory. Look at nowhere further than the Roots Home, which was an old movie world that got DMCA'd because you could pay them to rip and re-upload films for shows for you to watch in VR. Money makes things messy, and this update, while I personally think is an amazing idea to do the good of the community, could be taken advantage of from the bad and needs to be carefully and seriously managed. Literally, no stone can be unturned, and no concern unheard. Ripping someone's model can suck, but this could have a lot more damages if the access is given to the wrong people. I skimmed through a developer video comment section and saw that quite a few people were still very concerned this will turn into a huge paywall, and it will keep regular players out. And I know I mentioned it before, but honestly, I don't think that's as big of a problem as people expect. I know it's not as popular to buy stuff for the game like avatars, worlds, parts, etc., but it is actually a lot more popular than the regular player thinks. We already enjoy the game with tons of different paywalls, Nitro Boost, Patreon, Gumroads, Payhips, Discord, all that jazz. This isn't actually that much different than it is now. Some people just don't see it. Almost every popular world that you go to has a Patreon, specifically a thank you wall or a space for perks. If that's what causes you hesitation, I can say with zero doubt, this feature will change that as much as you expect. Minus probably, smaller creators adding on their own little sub to me please, which, hey, support small creators, let's go. At the end of the day, it is your choice to spend your money, and if you don't find the perks worth the cash, then just don't do it. If a friend is hanging out in a paid-only event, then do something else until it's over. We've had paid-only events in VRChat before. Look at Virality as a great example. This will help those events streamline their ticket sales or whatever else is needed. And for those who do choose for ticketed access for their events, they'll either take a hard fall and learn a lesson or make it fair to everyone who is interested. I do wonder if VRChat will let you gift perks like in VRChat Plus. All things we'll have to learn about in time. But for right now, all we can do is sit around and wait to hear what happens. What are you most excited for this update? What are you most concerned with? Thank you all so much for showing up to this video, and make sure to drink your water, eat your broccoli, and have a fantastic day. See you all in the next video. Pa! A quick shout out to all of my REMs out there. Elise and Raksha, thank you so much for your continued support.